I'd like to call to order the December 23rd, 2025 meeting of Saugatuck Parks and Public Works Committee meeting. Sarah, can you call the roll?
Sure. Cherrick is not here. Hoffman.
Here.
Kimball.
Here.
Roach is not. Stanton.
Here.
And Teal.
Here.
Okay, the next thing we need to do is approve the agenda. Do I
I
have,
motion to approve the agenda for December 23rd, 2025.
Awesome.
any discussions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Oh, all right. Do we have any public comment on agenda items
I
only?
approve the minutes. Sorry, Nancy.
Sorry, I just went right by those. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of November 25th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Corrections? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Did I hear all ayes? Okay. Any nays? No. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Now we're ready for public comment on agenda items only. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a comment?
Nope.
Nope. There's only one person in the room. Is there anyone online who would like to make a comment?
No hands.
No hands. Okay. All right. We're ready to move on. So discussion items. The first thing would be our DPW update. Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. Nice sunny day. We just wanted to give you an update on some of our bigger projects that we've been working on, just to kind of hit some high points of some exciting stuff that we've been seeing some progress on. So I will limit it to just the big ones. But first off is the Mount Baldhead restroom. I'm not sure if anyone's been over there yet, but you should see some pretty substantial progress over there. So Midwest, our contractor, they offer us almost weekly updates on where the project stands. So as of a couple of weeks ago, they were working on the bathroom accessories, sinks, countertops, plumbing fixtures, soffit, fascia, gutters. Last week, they were working on finishing up those plumbing fixtures and then the HVAC system along with mechanical inspection. Remaining work to take place before it opens up would be to remove the fence, clean up the work site. I think due to the tariffs, there was an issue with locating the doors that we were planning on installing. So there's just delayed a little bit, where they're going to receive those that potentially that second week of January and get those installed. So
Are those like exterior doors?
exterior doors, yep. Yeah, and then follow that up with final inspection. So that pretty much sums it up. There's a little bit of like minor stuff to do in the spring to really complete it, landscaping, a couple little things to button up, and that's about it for that project. So yeah, for the substantial completion, that's going to be midway to the end of January, but then the final completion will be weather pending, really. So sometime this spring, well in advance of Memorial Day.
Will there be a grand opening? A ribbon cutting?
We need to do that.
I said, are we really?
I don't know. I think it's a pretty big deal.
It's nice to celebrate these things.
Well, it does represent a pretty sizable investment that the city has made. I mean, 300, when it's all said and done, close to $310,000 for that building. So
Just excited that people use the restroom and not behind the restroom anymore. So
Sure.
yeah, I think you could do a
Yeah.
grand opening.
That's a win.
Next, city council earlier this month did approve, they were presented with the planning and conceptual design phase of Elizabeth Street, which is on our capital improvements plan. And so they approved that. So Fleece and Vanderbrink is going to be working on just data collecting at first, getting input from the community, survey, including like topographic survey, assessing the utility needs, the road surface, and then any potential areas for improvement. We did an initial walkthrough, I think, in early November. And, we talked about some really interesting options. Sidewalk is going to be one of them. We heard loud and clear during our master plan survey results that connectivity and non-motorized paths are really important to the community. So we definitely want to take that into consideration. Also, Elizabeth Street's pretty wide. And so there might be a little bit of flexibility on things that we can do, potentially make those sidewalk improvements and not necessarily carve out more of the shoulder areas that you see up there, but maybe utilize that existing road surface in between the curb a little more efficiently. So
There's such beautiful trees up there
there are.
by the Allegan Road, I miss the sidewalk, but I would hate to see those trees go.
I think we're all
Everybody's
aligned
got that
behind that.
opinion.
Yeah, that, the section in between Allegan and Mason Street on the east side, across the street from the condos up there, I mean, it's a really challenging area. At first glance, I think when Michelle and the city engineer and I, we walked it, we're like, yeah, we need to definitely add sidewalk where there's no sidewalk existing. But then when we walked it, we ended up walking away a little bit more confused than when we started, because in reality, anywhere where it would be easy to put in a sidewalk, there is one already, which means that now we've got some challenges, whether it be elevation differences, driveway approaches, retaining walls, hardscaping, trees. A lot of those are very old oak trees on that such stretch of road that we wouldn't easily get back. So that's really where we decided, because of those trees, actually, that's where, when we did our walking tour of it, we really decided, we want to get this right. We don't do Elizabeth Street very often, every 25 years or so. And so, we want that community input. So hopefully, community members will weigh in on their opportunities that they're given to shed some light on what everyone would like to see for that road.
Yeah.
So exciting stuff. Also a big investment for the city. Speaking of big investment for the city, one of the biggest projects that I've personally been a part of at the city so far is going to be the Maple Street rebuild that's still teed up for the spring. So I think we're maybe a little bit north of $4 million on that project at this point. Part of that cost does include seawall and concrete repairs that we had incurred some damage from the high water levels back around 2020. Also, Mary Street resurfacing. There's also a sunken catch basin on the corner of Mary Street and Butler Street, across the street from the post office on the Wickwood side. That's going to get raised up and addressed. Probably a little bit of curbing work there as well. Also, resurfacing the DPW driveway. And then at one point, we had a water leak out here at this main intersection of, I think it was a couple of years ago at this point. Gosh, time flies, but it was kind of concerning because for Cal Lake to repair the water leak at this intersection at Culver and Butler, it had the potential to shut down. In fact, I think it did temporarily shut down the water service for a good portion of downtown, which was really concerning. So at that time, we had identified that, hey, there's a need for what we would call a gate valve, so that we can isolate those leaks a little bit more, which means that in the event that there's a water leak, fewer properties will be disrupted from that. So that's also going to be a part of the bid package. So Maple Street is formally out to bid right now. We expect, I think January 27th is the bid opening. So really looking forward to that date. We also did a really deep dive with key stakeholders for the Maple Street plan review. I think a couple people here were at that meeting where we pretty much went foot by foot of that project and went through all the details that go into it. Really excited about the project, and I think people are really gonna like it. So. Also, earlier in December, the city council approved our recommendation to move forward with the Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area proposal that was submitted by the Outdoor Discovery Center, using those endowment fund dollars. And then we got an update about the chain ferry arbors, that this project keeps getting delayed. It's been pushed in. We've asked for a more firm date because we've pushed it back a couple times now. I think given the seasonality, it's easy to push that project off a little bit from like the metal fabricators to well, we know it's not going to be up and operational until Memorial Day anyway. So, but we've asked for a firmer date on that. So they told us like mid-January. So hopefully the weather holds up so then Public Works can follow up and install the cedar shingles on that structure and all the hardware, replace all the hardware and everything back on them. So it should look exactly the way it does now, with the exception of an epoxy-based black paint coating that's marine grade. Then Village Square Courts, great news. We got the DNR passport grant, the recreation passport grant. So $150,000 grant that was awarded to the city. We were one of, I think, 15 projects that had been awarded some funding for that. So that project will, I know the city manager was still in conversation with a potential donor and working out some of the details just to make sure we're getting all those funding mechanisms put in place. It sounds like everything's going pretty well. So very excited about that. Sarah, just want to touch base. Sorry, keep going for just a minute, but three more things. One, Public Works has been receiving quite a few inquiries about mailbox damage inflicted by the snow plows. And so I wanted to just, I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on that. We are responding to these complaints of reported damage, and what we are seeing is a lot of rotten wood and really inferior construction on a lot of these things. A lot of them are very old or tilted, leaning, so it doesn't take a whole lot. So we want to do Public Works. I think that Michelle and I kind of have a plan to address this and be a little bit more proactive instead of reactive on this front. We see a lot of mailboxes around the city that we can tell are about to fail. So we're giving people recommendations on how to construct them properly, consider the age of them. They don't last forever. Whether they should encase the posts in concrete or not. And so I think what we're going to end up doing is probably, fortunately for us, the city's not that big, and the roads that have mailboxes on them are, there's not that many of them. So we feel like we can maybe walk the roads and inspect some of them and compile that information onto a list, notify residents like, hey, this might be worth considering replacing or repairing, and try to get ahead of it a little bit more. So also getting reports of speeding snowplow trucks. And this is something that we've heard for years and years and years. I no longer try to convince people that we're not speeding. I'm sure it happens occasionally, but really took a little bit of a dive into why is it that people believe that the snowplow trucks are speeding all the time. And really it seems to be kind of a combination of, to push snow, you have to push the engines a little bit harder. So you're at higher RPMs. So the trucks are louder. A lot of times the snowplow trucks are out when it's very early in the morning. Town is very quiet. So that high RPM diesel engine coming through your neighborhood is pretty disruptive. And then, that visual effect of snow flying off of the snowplow. I think all of that in combination really just gives the perception that these trucks are really going fast, when in fact, a lot of times they're not. So just worthy of consideration. And then last thing, I do want to introduce our new equipment operator, maintenance worker / oval beach manager. This is Angela Stasewich, who joins us today. So it's Angela, feel free to, if you want to say hi and give a little brief about who you are, feel free, but you don't have to. I'll just put you on the spot a little bit. So
Come up to them.
come on up to the podium. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm waiting all morning for this to
that
do
put
this.
you on the spot, yeah. Well, welcome.
Yeah, so nice to meet you all. I worked for the Forest Service for most of my career and resigned and wanted to try, something different and within still like the land management in mind. And my partner and I had thought about leaving Colorado, and we're both from Michigan. And so then it became more of a reality when I resigned and she lost her job due to some funding. She worked for a nonprofit. So it was just like the universe said, you need to move to Michigan and be close to family. I'm from Escanaba originally. So I have a lot of my family is there. And she has family in Grand Rapids. And we're having a baby in February. So that was like another piece to the puzzle of like, needing to be closer to family and living in a place that you can afford a home. Versus, I was in Aspen, Colorado, which is amazing, but it's not a long-term life decision, if you will. So saw the job here and was really excited that it kind of very diverse. So, I'm learning how to like run the Bobcat and do different things like that. And then I'll be managing the beach, which I'm really excited about. So
Yay.
We're excited to
Welcome.
have you. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Welcome.
I'll cap it at that. Thank you.
Female energy at the.
Yeah, also a good thing.
Excited.
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
So it's
Okay.
okay. And some
Yeah.
female.
yes, totally fine. Okay.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is invasive species. And we've talked about this, at several meetings. And, we just still haven't come to a recommendation yet that we want to send to council. This, just to review, this was one of council's 2025, 26 priorities. And so, we said we would take the ball, run with it, and see if we couldn't come up with some suggestions. So when we first started out, and I'm sure you all read every word of the packet, but I'll refresh you that the project charter that's in there that's associated with this project, I think I drafted back in May. And at that point, we'd had Allegan Conservation District come through and they were working on another project for us. And I think, Scott, you chatted with them about this, and they said that they could do an inventory for us of all of our invasives. And we had, of course, if you tell me June, I'm going to think it's, June. But anyway, they said they could maybe start in June, and then they didn't. And time passed, and, they just never were able to get to it. But you have been contacting them, Scott, just to see if they're still interested. And so I
Right,
don't know if
yeah.
you want to give an update on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, the Allegan Conservation District, they're not actually going to be the ones to go out and treat. They would be an entity that would be willing to come in, at very minimal cost, if any, and basically help us create an inventory of what we've got on our city properties. So this could serve as a really useful, massive first step in procuring some quotes and putting a management plan together for this. I had reached out to Brian Talsma, who we had met in the past. They are still working on this. They've done a lot of the mapping, plugging information in on their GIS system. Unfortunately, just given the seasonality of this, they're not really able to go out into the field and do a lot of their field recon work to really give us an invasive inventory at this time. But they're still willing to help us out with that if we so choose. But they're confident that they could come up with a plan for us and discuss some of the fine details of how exactly we should go about managing our invasive species in the city. And they could do that for us by roughly May. So that is an option. There's pros and cons to it. It's not comprehensive. So this isn't a one-stop shop entity that will do that inventory surveying and also give us some quotes for treatment. They would make recommendations on entities that would do treatments for us based on their recommendations and what we decided is appropriate. Where, we did get some diverse quotes back, at least like from the ODC, who really was more all encompassing, where they could do that recon, that surveying work, while at the same time doing some treatment options too. So really it's up to the group to decide. And, the chair did put a nice project charter together for this, which kind of is something that we can hand off to our contractors and say, give us a quote on this. If we feel that that's sufficient. So we have a couple different ways that we could go on this. So curious to put it back towards the committee and see what your thoughts are.
And I would add that we also reached out to Kalamazoo Nature Center and, to see if they were interested in working on this project. And the response was, well, that's a really big project to try to assess all of our natural areas. Our parks are pretty pristine. I don't think we have a whole lot of invasives, in Wicks Park and that type of thing. But we'd also included the roadsides in that. So the response I got verbally was, well, can you narrow it down? Are there certain areas that are high priority? Are there certain invasives that you're, fixated on that you'd like us to focus on so that we could scale the project down a little bit? We have not taken that action, but that's just was the response that we received. So we did reach out to them. But I would say, personally, I was a little frustrated with Allegan Conservation District because I felt like we kind of lost a whole year on the project. We took it to ODC and as usual, they're just so responsive and, and they give us really good quotes and, estimates and that kind of thing. So that's just, where we're at. But yeah, I would like to maybe just open it up and see if anybody has any thoughts. about how we should proceed.
Has anyone like looped in like MSU or their extension? Because they have, I mean, I get from them all the time, their invasive species things. And I don't know if that might be an outlet that they may be able to augment some things for us.
Would they, do they actually do that kind of thing? Come in and,
See,
I don't know.
I would
It's a-
think that there would be some kind of program that, yes, that they would. I don't know if they would be out here. That would be the thing that we'd have to look into.
So right now, if I have this correct, we have the Allegan Conservation District could basically at a minimal cost, I don't know what minimal is, but at a minimal cost, they could do an inventory, but they're not the agency that would do the treatment. So we would have to have two different groups working on this.
That's right.
Where the ODC could do the inventory as well as the treatment. Is that,
That's spot-
those are our two different options at this point?
Yep, yeah, we could wait for more of a bigger picture management plan from the Allegan Conservation District, or we have a project charter that outlines the scope of work that we'd like to see happen, and we can just simply get some quotes from companies. We did get, it's not for lack of trying, but I do think that if we went with the route of getting some quotes based off of our project charter, I think that we need to spend a little more time making sure that we get some good numbers from other companies too, just to be complete. But as a great jumpstart, I think we had the fair conversation with the Kalamazoo Nature Center, and then a really nice quote laid out by the ODC too. So if we could maybe at least just get one more, I think that
Maybe
would be
MSU
helpful.
Extension would be a great place to reach out for a third quote.
Yeah.
And we're clear on what we want, correct? I mean, we know the specifics of what we want. We can go and, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, I had written that project charter back in May, so I think I might want to review it. But it's, it's pretty comprehensive, and I think that's a good suggestion, because I was like, who else, does this kind of thing? And we could go back to Kalamazoo Nature Center and just say, no, we're not going to, narrow the scope. This is it, and if you don't want to bid on it, okay, fine.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a misunderstanding with them too, because they work with other municipalities and offer some management plans. I think Luke had mentioned that he could help assist us with kind of that overall management plan as well. So,
Right. So basically, maybe reach out to one more organization for,
See if they do. I mean, I don't know if they do or not.
and maybe they could suggest somebody if they don't. So that's a good suggestion.
But they certainly have a vast knowledge of what's, I mean, I get, the invasives and the treatment options, what are the best working for it? We just got one for liverwort. And, they go through 4 different treatments. Which one was the most effective?
You
So-
did?
Well, I get it in my email,
Oh,
I
okay.
get it all the time. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's things like that. So I know they have the background and the.
Of course, yes.
Right, to do those things, whether they physically, that's some things.
Yeah, I mean, we have a little bit of time because you're not going to identify any invasives today. But we need to get on their agendas so that, when the time is right, they're ready to roll. So, okay, I think those are good suggestions. Anything
So
else?
what I'm hearing is we kind of like the idea of proceeding with using our current scope of work or our project charter, maybe just glance through that, make sure it's refined enough, and then proceed with getting some quotes from contractors on this. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Okay, next thing on our agenda is the Mount Baldhead revegetation. And, we've talked about this at a couple of different meetings as well. We got 2 quotes, and we reviewed this last time, so I don't want to be redundant. But we had gotten a nice quote from ODC, and then Scott and I actually had met with Tanner Bricker, I think is his last name, and expressed concerns about just, we don't want to put a lot of new plantings out there and have the deer eat them or have people trample them. And another problem, of course, is, if it doesn't rain, they don't do well. And that one's a really harder problem to get your arms around. But they came back then with some suggestions on how to minimize, some of the deer. And also, we talked about the fact that there's human traffic on that area, and we want to minimize that. And so they were going to help us out with putting up some, barriers, I guess. And that we did have a quote from Kalamazoo Nature Center. You know, when you compared the two quotes, they were a little more expensive. They didn't have as many plants. They didn't have as much deer protection, I'd say, but they did have some. And so that's where we stand on those two. Do we have enough to move forward, I guess?
I'd really like to see one more quote from somebody on
Yeah,
that.
and I know that Kelly had reached out to that firm that you suggested and they just didn't respond. Do you think this is something we should talk to Michigan State about? Or at least maybe they could suggest somebody. So maybe if we go to them, we'll hit on both projects?
Let's see, yeah.
I'd really like to get, you know, we've been working on this for quite a while. I'd like to be able to make some kind of recommendation, but I don't want to do that if we're not, you know, if we haven't done a good job on it, so. Anything else? Does anybody have any other thoughts on this?
No.
No, I think this one's close. We're really close to making a recommendation. So I think we just need to finalize, peg down some of these final details and ultimately make some decisions and present it to council and see, get their feedback.
What other details are you hoping for?
Just one more, I
One
really
more
think we
quote.
need one more quote.
Okay.
Yeah, and just make sure that all the contractors that we're in contact with, they're all getting the same project charter and they're basing their quotes off of the same instruction sheet that we're giving them.
Okay.
So yeah, with that in hand, I think that satisfies our purchasing policy.
Okay. All right, we also put on our agenda, moving on to the warming station. So at our last meeting, Lisa Mize presented to us about the concepts and the idea of the warming station. And we have some questions, but I thought it would be good to have a follow-up conversation just as we had a chance to think about it and really, you know, discuss amongst ourselves, what do we think about this whole concept?
And I
And-
promise I won't step in it this time.
So move that one slightly over to see that. Yes. So I just wanted you guys to know that Lisa's from the CVB is looking at something that looks more like the one to the right because they want it to look like a closed rose, as opposed to the one on the left. So they're looking at getting some bids on somebody that could do something closer to that, just so you guys are aware.
Can I go make one suggestion, and this is about that.
Yeah,
We have artists in Michigan that would be dying, that are fabulous iron workers.
yeah,
Instead of going to Colorado or to Europe,
yeah.
can we kind of put that in the mix to focus on Michigan people? This is a Michigan resort. We should adhere to that
Mhm.
instead of going outside the state.
Okay.
I'm really,
I think
that's
that makes
important.
I think that's a really good suggestion.
that we
I love
don't
it.
need to be looking in Colorado. We don't need to look in LA. We have it here. You know, if we need people, I will get you the people,
Yeah,
you know, to reach out to, but.
I think I would definitely reach out to Lisa Mize because she's going to continue, even though she's retiring. I believe she's going to continue with this project and make sure she can see it through to the end. And if you have people to send to her, I would definitely email her directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wanted to ask everyone, did you receive the email from one of I'm not sure if Sally lives in our,
Yeah.
but Sally Winthers, I guess.
Yeah,
is how you-
she's worked with the History Center on a number of projects. And yeah, so I've worked with Sally myself on when we did the fish shanty and all of that. So I'm very familiar with Sally and I actually responded to her
Did you?
respondents.
And I only know her through, she did some volunteer work for us, Friends of the Blue Star Trail in conjunction with our gala. So she's been a very, you know, active community supporter. But she raised the issues and I just printed off her email because I thought she made some good comments. And one of them was basically that an outdoor warming station does consume a lot of fossil fuel. And is this just being rather, you know, inconsiderate to the environment? We all know about, you know, how bad fossil fuels are.
But my response to that, Lisa Mize and I also spoke about this. There is a warming station in Ludington, for example, that there is a button that people can push when they're around it. So it's not running all day long by any means. Just when people are around it, you can push a button and it has a timer. Kind of like a hot tub, if you know, like you've been to a hotel that all of a sudden it stops going, there's a timer associated with it. And so Lisa was going to take that into consideration as far as having some sort of a timer and activating it while people are there and not having it active when people are not there.
It's like that too.
Yeah. So lots of solutions out there as far as that goes.
Yeah, and then she also brings up the fact that they're not really all that warming if there's not some kind of a windbreak. And of course, we've all experienced standing by the fire and it's, you don't really, especially when it's a gas flame, I think. So I don't think there's any way with the current design that there would be a windbreak. So, other than I guess there's a wall over there if,
It's protected by, on the one side, at least by the wall.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the reality is we can call it a warming center. There'll be some warming. I mean,
Right.
There will, but it's not a warming center. It's
Ambiance.
a visual thing that is impressive.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a warming center. I mean, come on. It's a beautiful sculpture that is lit on fire.
Mhm.
And if that's what we want, I'm all for it. But I just think that we should be kind of honest about that kind of stuff of like, you know, let's call it what it is. It is beautiful. I think it would be great in the city. It's not a warming center. Who gets warm from that? No.
So like I have a gas fireplace and it is hot. So I don't know if there's,
But you're in a house or is it
Yeah.
outside? I mean,
Yeah.
because, you know, we have a gas fire, we have a couple. of
Right.
fireplaces.
right.
And, you know, in my living room, it doesn't really do very much because I live in an old house without a lot of insulation in that part. And in the back where there is insulation, it does something.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
But we have
I'm
a,
not against it. I am not, I know it sounds like I'm against this, but I am not. But I mean, I think there's some reality here that, is it a warming center? It's a beautiful part of the park that we're making addition to.
but we have a gas fire
It's
pit.
perfect. It will provide some warmth.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think, and I just like the idea of having a purpose, outside. And a lot of people walk Butler Street all of the time when they're doing their shopping. And, I know in particular, my husband doesn't love going in the stores with me. And would love to hang out and, chat with somebody by the fire to kill time. It's just, I think it's just a nice little ambiance.
Right.
During the shoulder season.
Yeah.
A draw, it's atmosphere.
Yeah.
And community.
It's all those
yeah.
things. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I just thought it would, I don't know that anyone is looking for our recommendation or not.
No.
I just thought it might be good for us to have a
Yeah,
conversation.
I think Brian's suggestion is a great one that should be passed along as far as getting some local people to be involved in the sculpture part of it.
And refresh me,
sure.
had they reached out to artists that were not local or?
Don't know.
We
Yeah,
don't know.
when she was
Okay.
here, she said she thought she had found someone in Colorado.
Just because of that actual design, but yeah, I think-
That was the last,
Yeah.
if there was anyone mentioned of who or what, that she had tried someone in Europe and that was too expensive, cost prohibitive. And then they found someone in Colorado.
Oh, right,
And
and
you know,
so,
let's find someone.
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think council made that same comment and hopefully that's, but by all means, if you have anybody that you would suggest, definitely reach out. And if you want to go through me and I can get it to Lisa, whatever you want to do, I would love to hear that. And the other thing that was in Sally's letter had to do with, the care of the rose garden. And I made sure Sally was aware that we have contracted with specific landscaping people that are more aware of how to handle the roses. And that was something that came up with city council a couple of years ago was, hey, we might not have an expertise in roses, so let's get the experts out there. And Scott's done a great job working with a local landscaping firm that does all of that for us. So the money that is there for that endowment for the rose garden is being spent wisely because we have specific people that are taking care of those roses.
And it's a great idea to take the fence down to the city. I mean, because it is kind of prohibitive. You walk by it, I think if you're not here, it's the barrier that kind of looks like it means something.
Yeah.
It's hard to
It's
know
not
if
inviting.
you're allowed to go in there.
Correct.
Unless you know.
I think that's
Yeah.
the best idea of the whole thing.
I think just from a public works staffing perspective, it'd just be helpful to know You know, we have a lot of projects going on right now. I try to touch base on some of them. I know at the last meeting I went through a massive list.
Yeah.
And our human staff level resources are limited, and we've got a lot of expenses coming up and some capital improvement planning to do over the winter time. And I think from my perspective, at least, it would be helpful to know, like, where does the committee as a whole stand on this particular project? Are we in support or are we not in support? Sounds like maybe overall we're in support of it.
I'm in support of it, and I like that the money from the Convention and Visitors Bureau is being spent towards this. The CVB is marketing our area and they have money left over. And having enhancements in our community in the shoulder seasons is it's a desire of the board. And I just feel like doing something that enhances our community through the dollars that are going to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
I'm a little bit more, I guess, just on the fence. I think that who doesn't love fire? I do. So it's not that I'm really opposed to it. It's just a little bit of kind of where this kind of came out of the blue. It is another project, for our DPW staff, to have to, who's going to oversee the project, make sure that everything gets done properly. It's just one more thing to do. It's one more thing to maintain. And, we've been very, like we as a Parks Committee don't just come up with random projects and expect the city council, to jump on them. It's more like, there's a strategic planning process and then we kind of go through that and we identify the priorities and those are the things that we focus on. And this one to me just kind of like, okay, it came as a surprise and it's a good idea, it's a lovely idea, but just, is it something we should jump on? And does it mean that something else maybe gets pushed down the list? So just because of our staff, resources and
Well,
that
to
kind
say,
of thing.
okay, this is how it is, as is, take it or leave it. That element to it as well.
Right, but there's no, I love to say through my years of experience, nothing is ever easy. So, this will entail, a lot of time in the end. And, so just where does it fit in our priorities more so than, is it a good idea or not? This is just my opinion. So,
I
does
think
anybody
you
else?
have the closest one to an answer to that. I mean, how do you foresee that happening? And what are the hills you have to climb?
Well, on the one hand, it's really flattering when we have an entity that wants to contribute funds for a project and try to activate a space more. I love that. Who wouldn't? But you're talking to somebody too that just kind of went through an asset management course and is really, as a department, we're really in tune with a lot of our infrastructure needs, which includes park infrastructure and our roads and our motor pool, staffing levels, buildings, everything. So I definitely appreciate, your point of where does this fall in? So at the moment, I am not fully confident that I have, as somebody from Public Works responsible for the maintenance and all the infrastructure, I'm not confident that I have what I need to really, stand tall and say, this is a priority right now, or this is not. I know what's out there, and I know that we have a lot of dollars that need to get spent on projects, but until I have that information cataloged and documented to support whether something should be a priority or not, I'm just kind of leaving it to the community to be a little more driven by, make the decision on these things a little bit more than what I could right now. But it's a fair point. I mean, definitely appreciate it. I think it's an awesome idea. I think it activates that space more, but at the same time, there's a lot of needs. So I think these decisions are really big picture and need to be well thought out.
Okay, this is just like, came through my mind, sorry, and we probably have no business in this part of it, but out of that money that they're doing it, could we hire a gig, like a gig job to do this? out of that money as opposed to a full-time employee, a contracted employee to manage that particular, I mean, if it's their money, if it's the Visitors Bureau money, can they take out of that money, hire someone so you don't have to? You can just kind of walk by and go, okay, it's going well. Is that can that be in the mix?
Like that could be in the mix.
I wonder.
And take the pressure off.
Yeah, in my mind, I haven't really discussed this with Lisa or the CVB or Ashley or anybody in detail, but like as far as like who's actually the project manager for this, it's a good point. It sounds like Lisa's been considering that and they kind of want to just take it and run with it, which is fine as long as all the scope of that project is approved by the city. So I don't think that it would ultimately be a project that we are managing. But we would oversee, we'd look at it from a distance.
You would
right?
have to maintain. Actually, and that's
After
part of your concern,
Yeah.
yeah, like.
And you
Yeah.
would want to make sure that it was consistent with, our city.
Well, and talking about Public Works for just a second, I mean, we had a hard conversation at Public Works at the staff level recently, because especially around the holidays, we have a very tiny staff, given the amount of responsibility that we have. And, the city is, ever since I've worked here, I've always given the analogy that like, we're a full glass of water where people keep trying to pour more into it. And, our staff levels aren't exponentially higher than they were, 10 years ago. I mean, we may have a little more staff capacity, but it's not much, but we do have a lot more demand for service. And, we just had a hard conversation at the garage about even being our ability as a staff to provide just a basic snow plowing service to the city, because I have staff that want to go on vacation for Christmas. And if one person is gone, what does that mean for the operation? I can't approve more than 2 people to be off at a time at Public Works. So we do our best and we rotate off like who can take time off even during the holidays. And the holidays are important to everybody. And so, there's some frustration that has been expressed to me by the Public Works staff that why are we in this situation right now where if I want to use my paid time off and be with my family, I'm in a position where it really severely affects the service that we provide.
Yeah.
One person. Because if one person wants to use vacation, oh my gosh, if another person calls in sick, we're down to 3 people, of our equipment operators and maintenance workers. So, we have a lot to do. So those 3 people are going to be working, 12-hour days probably that day, if that's the situation. So yeah, there's a huge demand for service and projects and an appetite for it. But I also hear the other side. I just have to express that too, that I hear it from our staff loud and clear that, it's hard to
Do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is sort of a freebie, that we don't want to, I mean, I guess we should probably try to get a better understanding of what does the maintenance look like and, maybe reach out to Lisa and see if she has any details on that. I mean, I'd be happy to reach out to her and see if there's anything like that available to understand what the impact might be.
The practicalities of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think the project should only be, constructing it. There should be a maintenance plan as well. And just so that that's all identified and anticipated. I used to live in the city of Chicago, and they are like the city of big ideas. And, so somebody always had a big, new project, Millennium Park and, Maggie Daly, and let's build. And then as I would walk around the city in some other, older parks, the sidewalks were crumbling, the banisters were in terrible condition. And I would think to myself, why are we building more and more, but we're not taking care of what we have? And so I just want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in that position. And I'm almost afraid that we're struggling right now to keep up with everything. So, that I just feel like, maybe a requirement should be that they've really analyzed what's going to take to maintain it, and, how long will this last, what kind of, maintenance will it require, over the next 20 years or something. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to I guess, communicate anything back to Lisa about this discussion?
I think just what I mentioned earlier is like any local artists that could be involved. And then anything about maintenance and project coordinator person. So those three things.
I think that's perfect. Okay. All right, so, the last thing on our agenda is our recommendations for 26. Let's think about it, 25. And so could you, Sarah, pull up that, the list? We went through it last time. I tried to kind of update based on, everybody's comments.
It's right there, yeah.
Yep,
All right, that's a little small for people to read.
I can
Can
see
you
it.
make it bigger, Sarah, or is that?
I have my new glasses. I have.
I printed it because
Got my glasses.
I also wanted to be able to make notes if anybody had any significant comments or anything, so. And so let's just go through this. We're, everybody's got things to do when they get out of here. So let's get through it as quick as we can. But, Village Square, so basically I kind of I had reorganized these maybe for the last time, I can't remember, the projects in progress. And so, we're not debating whether or not, these are projects to do, but, just to decide if there's any really role, I guess, for our group. So on Village Square, as Scott said, they got the grant. We also have the donation. So this project, is definitely going to move forward. I remember when the conversation, about applying for the grant was what to include in the grant application as far as the plan. And the discussion was that you cannot once you apply for the grant, whatever you put in there, you can't, like not do.
Yeah.
But you can add
And
things.
add to it. You
You
just
can
can't
add-
subtract.
You
from
can't subtract, right, exactly. So I remember Kelly brought this up a while back about making the basketball court look artistic, and she had some pictures, and
Mhm.
I just was really, impressed with those. And I don't know if there's any ongoing discussion about that, Lauren.
No, but I love the idea of trying to find some artists that could give us, a quote on painting the basketball courts, a particular, something artistic. When we do the resurfacing of the tennis courts / pickleball courts, there's going to be, pickleball courts are blue and our school colors are blue and orange. So it could be really cool if we, on the basketball court side, had something in a blue and orange scheme.
Ooh, I like
Something that would be really cool that would go well with, the colors of the pickleball courts that would be on the other side. I think that would be really cool. And yeah, we've seen some really interesting ones out there. And I know Kelly had some examples of some great artistic things that you can do with the basketball court or what was the futsal,
Oh, yeah.
which was all right there.
Oh, yeah, and the futsal was not included in the application, as I recall, but it was like we can always add that
Yeah,
if we
that's
choose
correct.
to. And so that would be another thing that, and I don't know what it entails to make that also futsal ready.
Mhm.
Do we want to just make suggestions to council that they consider these things? I mean, is that basically?
I think now that we have the funding pieces coming together, we're about at the point where we can start refining that scope of work a little bit more. So get that design in front of everybody again, get a refresh for everybody at what we're looking at and go from there.
I mean, I don't want to give more work to, I mean, if there's anything that we can do to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
move these things along. I mean, I sort of feel like what we've been trying to do, like with our, Mount Baldhead and that kind of thing, is going out, doing the work of getting, the people involved that can, move something forward. And if that's, I would hope that that's helpful to staff and to council.
Yes.
And, so I would be saying we'd want to, take that same approach with this if they want us to.
So I would just recommend having some sort of a committee or something that could pursue the artistic part of it. If there was somebody
Oh, wow.
within here that would be interested in trying to, do that kind of work, to be able to present it and say, hey, as part of the scope of work, could we also have this as part of it?
Yeah, the project overall would go through a formal, like a RFP process through our engineering firm.
Mhm.
I'm assuming, given the input that we're given from the potential donator and the grant specifications. They've kind of managed our application for that and have those details. So this would be something that would be put out to bid. But there could be some custom pieces like that of the bid package where it's like, let's try to seek a local artist for this portion of it.
Okay, yeah. So is there anyone that's interested in heading up this idea?
I know Kelly has done some of the initial research, so.
Right. Okay, I'm just looking at you, Brian, because you're our artist.
I have no idea of what a basketball art thing is. Not a.
So
No, but you're an artist.
So a
so
while
bring it
ago,
on.
Kelly shared some of those images, so
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
she could share those with you
Yeah,
again.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll help with whatever she wants.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
okay.
So Kelly could share those with
Oh, I
you.
know basketball court, wood floor or.
Yeah,
Kel-
it's outside, so, yeah.
Kelly's not here, so we'll basically put her name on this, so.
I'm happy to help with that too, Brian.
Good.
Okay, all right, let's move on. So Maple Street, obviously, as Scott's already, updated us on that. But when I did go to the session where we went through it in detail, that's where I actually I hadn't realized until that, meeting that the sidewalk will not go all the way to North Street. So it'll stop, it will start, I guess, at, the,
The apartments.
it'll stop the apartments,
Mhm.
which, are close to North Street. And the reason for that is because of all the Peterson Preserve, there's a lot of moisture.
It's
and
marsh.
It's a marsh and that kind of thing. So they would have to put in boardwalk or something to that effect. So basically, if you're trying to walk Maple, you will walk that far and then you're back on the street. And I guess there'll be a shoulder at least to accommodate that. I did have some feedback that by not taking that sidewalk all the way to North Street, which then could ultimately connect to the Blue Star Trail, that we are losing that connectivity. And that if future projects where, we would want to apply for a grant from the DNR Trust Fund, they put a lot of emphasis on connectivity. So we might be missing some points or something like that for a future project. I talked to Holly about it and I just said, do you think we could at least just get a cost to find out what it would be? So she was going to talk to Ryan to see if our engineers could give us a ballpark cost without, really charging us anything. So that's just kind of an FYI, but I don't expect, too much to change there. So I'm going to move on to Mount Baldy. And obviously, this is the infrastructure. We know everything that's going on with the restrooms. We know what we just talked about, the invasives. The pavilion still needs work. Is that a project that is high on anybody's list?
No, I think Scott did some repairs to it, and honestly, we had a picnic there for city staff, and I thought it looked really like
Okay.
it looked like the repairs that you've made with the new roof and everything, it looks really great. It needs to be activated where more people will use it,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I thought it looked really great.
Well, thanks. It's rustic, but
Yeah.
that's the theme of that.
City Park.
But, we still have, we have the upper platform work that's still taking place.
But that's like budgeted already, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, exactly. And we still, we're well aware on the capital improvements plan, at least, that we'll be hashing out a little bit over the winter time, where we still have the stairs themselves. They're really showing some advanced signs of deterioration. Once we have that nice new bathroom at the lower level, we can talk about, resurfacing the pavement, potential pavement for around those restrooms at the base and.
Like the
and
parking lot, you mean?
parking lot area. And there's also the deck on the east side of Park Street that is closer to the river.
Yes.
That's in need of some attention soon. So yeah, there's still Mount Baldhead Park. We've taken some really awesome steps on making improvements over there, but there's still quite a bit to do.
Well, it's such a iconic park for us. We probably want to just, keep it as a high priority to address all of those issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about on that. Okay. We've already talked about the invasive species. I think we can just move on. And we've talked about the Saugatuck Natural Area that we, have the approval to move forward with the proposal from ODC. I just wanted to caution everybody that proposal will take care of the invasives and it will give us recommendations for what the trails should be. But it is not going to, create the trails. So it's going to need to stay on our list because once we get the report back from ODC, we're going to have to decide what to do with it. And also we wanted signage, to be included in that as well. Okay.
Timing's good because along with that trail signage, I think the manager Cummins just brought forth to council that was approved, a rebranding with logo for the
Yes.
city of Saugatuck.
And
And I'm on that committee, so
awesome.
just FYI.
Well, so that basically the next thing on our list, so perfect segue was signage. And so this was one of the ideas that Kelly submitted was as far as the parks go, how about PPW volunteer to identify where we would like signs?
I think that's a great idea.
And so I think that is also a good idea. So we probably just need to decide who wants to head up that little project. And if I hear any volunteers.
We'll watch it. They'll want to go to every park and decide which one.
And Keith isn't here, so we'll,
Name on it.
yeah, Keith isn't here, so we can assign the project to him. We'll,
Think about how it goes in my other meetings. If you miss, you are.
It sounds very Keith.
But it sounds like Keith. Does sound like him.
all right, I'll be happy to talk to Keith about it and actually maybe be the one to do a charter. Okay, Park Street. So this just continues to be a priority. And I guess, let's see, I think Kelly had asked if, at what point does this project need any PPW input?
Well, a big part of the conversation of Park Street is the non-motorized portion of it. So I've heard a lot of feedback from a lot of different people over the years of what that should look like. I think that there's been a few different options discussed so far. We could just do a straight sidewalk. We could do extended shoulder, or we could do some sort of hybrid in between where it's a combination of adding sidewalk where appropriate or extending shoulder in other areas. So at some point, I think after Elizabeth Street, it's on the capital improvements plan, if I'm not mistaken. So Park Street and Butler Street are coming up fast.
But probably not a 2026.
No.
Okay.
Not that we don't want to tackle it, it's just, it's not next up.
Yeah.
It's probably 2 years down the road.
Okay, Blue Star Trail, and my comment was it's still stalled by tribal concerns, but I did want to give you guys a little bit of an update. So we've finally got a little bit of movement where the tribes had identified that they would like to have, the additional archaeological survey work done. And we finally did get from MDOT the firms that they recommend and details about what needs to happen. And so that was sent to our engineer, and they are working on an RFP to get proposals out. So we've actually started to have a little movement so we can address the tribal concerns, because we had hoped that we would be building, that the trail would be built by now. And, it's really just been stalled for that reason. So, but we at least finally have some movement, so we're excited. And the other thing I thought I would just share, since I'm on the board and I know what's going on, the idea of the trail is to go all the way to South Haven. And so the next section after completing the part that would end at the bridge is, Douglas already has some trail, but then we would build from Wiley Road, where there's no trail, all the way to M89. And we've gotten the approval from MDOT to build that trail. We've got the grant, and we got the DNR trust fund grants that were applied for. And those basically are not City of Saugatuck's projects. They're Township and Douglas. But we've got everything we need to move forward on those projects. So, and they can actually go, they don't have to go in order. We were afraid that we wouldn't. One of the big MDOT concerns is that you're not just building a little section of trail and it's like the trail to nowhere. So by adding that section, when we didn't have the north section built, we were afraid MDOT would say, no, you have to get one done before the other. But they've said no, because they understand why this first section isn't done. And they're going to let us go ahead and build the second section. So that's just, we're excited about that. Okay, we've talked about Elizabeth Street. I don't know that we need to talk about that anymore. We've talked about the fire pit. Streetscaping, I wanted to just get, I guess particularly from you, Lauren, if that's on the proposal, after Elizabeth Street, and we want to do anything big, what when should we start to think about what we'd like that to look like? You know, we don't want to wait until the last minute. You think we're too soon?
Might be a little too soon, but it's not, it's good to just keep in the back of your mind, you know, really, I think a big question is, do we prefer a more like uniform streetscaping or a more creative?
Eclectic.
Yes, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And
So,
just what that might look like.
list so we don't lose track of it. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next section I titled Community Supported Projects, and this was because some of these, you know, were what showed up in our survey. And basically it was restrooms. And those two items, the next two items are both restrooms. And do you think council's already got that message and
We already have the message.
they don't need anything from us on that?
As you know, they're expensive. So we do what we can when we can with the money we have. So yeah, they just, they're expensive. So
But
Yeah.
I, you know, just as far as any discussion, is there anyone who doesn't think we should move? Oh, and Kelly had she had a question. When we redo the city hall, is it possible to add a restroom here for the public?
We talked about that last meeting.
Did we talk about
Yes,
that?
we did.
It's a great idea. We're ironing out some details with our architect right now. Because we're struggling really badly to fit everything, to have this building
building.
fit all the needs of today.
Yeah.
And the need, you know, if we decide we want to expand on staffing levels, which would not go to waste, in my opinion. What does that look like? We really outgrown this space. So it's still in conversation with staff and our architect.
Right. Well, yeah, it just seemed unlikely to me because this building is not that big for everything that it needs to accommodate. But if it was possible,
I have to leave at 11:15, so
Okay.
put that out there now.
okay. All right. Now, the next one was add more benches and picnic tables. And I was thinking that we could volunteer to say, as PPW, maybe we could do a little inventory of the parks and come back with some suggestions on where we think parks, benches and tables should be placed.
it's a great idea. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, so maybe what we can do at our next meeting too is just see who wants to take a project and run with it. So we'll identify projects that we're going to move forward on.
That sounds good.
Okay. Peterson Preserve, I would still like to keep that on the list because I don't think there's enough visibility that we have all of these infrastructure problems with it, and that the fact that the water level is controlled on the Peterson Mill property, which is private property, and yet the city is responsible for that. And so I would just like to see that get more attention and consideration, because frequently when we have a heavy rain, you have to open the sluice gate in order to let the water flow, or else it goes over that little dam. And if the Peterson Mill property were to sell and someone else owned it, we don't know, you know, if the arrangement would be maintained, because right now it's just kind of a handshake with Eric Peterson
Mhm.
that he's fine with the city coming on his property and taking care of it. So I just think that should be something on there, and we'll just put it.
A lot of opportunity for that area of town. It's a relatively inactivated part of downtown and very peaceful, frankly. And, you know, I know that the council, in preparation for Park Street improvements, denied a hardscaping request, maybe two of them over in that area, just to kind of reclaim our city right-of-ways and putting them to use. So it's still very much on my radar that that's even a potential area that we could expand on some parking too.
Absolutely.
Park infrastructure maintenance. So we talked about this a little bit too, just to inventory all of our structures and basically, you know, kind of do what I described as a reserve plan, because so we could really plan out for the future.
Yeah, that's a staff lift. We're working on that at Public Works right now.
Okay, all right. Native plantings. So I didn't want to talk about pocket prairies again. You hear me every meeting talk about this. I have gotten some quotes. They came in a little higher than I was expecting. So to do the two areas that, you know, we've talked about before, Mason Street end, and then also over at Coughlin Park, the, you know, kind of the rainwater
The ditch.
I want to call it, yeah, a ditch. So I almost think that maybe we're going to need to go out and see if we have anybody, that wants to do some donations to support this kind of thing before we would come to council with it, because I don't know if they're going to want to fund it. Um, But also that, we are going to keep going with Peterson Preserve, where we've got some volunteers already working. So that's just the update there. Dark Sky Initiative. Judy, did you want to talk about that beyond?
I mean, I think there's definitely, there was some interest in the survey for dark skies, which I think is promising.
Yes.
I know this is not a huge council priority right now, so not a lot that we can do until it becomes one, but there are several community members who have reached out to me that, there are things we plan to do as community members to kind of keep this interest going and spread the word. And I do think that trying to engage the community with a lights out, similar to what Douglas has done, and also in relation to the streetscaping, if we are going to start talking about that, then it makes sense to incorporate dark sky friendly street lamps. If
Absolutely.
those are going to be replaced, and talk about, would that be logical to do? So, I mean, I think we should keep it on the list. It's definitely not something that we would need to have a lot of time to dedicate, since it's not a council priority, but I plan to continue to engage the community as I have been, and keep the interest spark. So
Matt, are we still
Perfect.
gonna have you, you said another.
2026, there is a dark sky week in April that we've already started talking about, and we're gonna reschedule our dark sky night that we did plan for October, which unfortunately couldn't happen. So yeah, we're definitely gonna do that, and we're gonna try to do some other community events around it during that week, so.
Hey Judy, not sure if you're aware, but the master plan, they are working on it with planning commission, and they have been talking about dark skies. So
Good.
I don't know if you want to watch any of those meetings that we've had, or
Great,
just,
yeah, I would
but that
do
has
that.
been a topic that has been brought up
Perfect.
a few times, so.
Good info.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
As far as replacing street lighting and stuff like that, that's
Yeah.
discussed, so.
Great.
Okay, last thing on this section was sustainable community, and Kelly was the one who brought this to our attention previously about the Michigan Green Communities Initiative. And to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't a community like ours that's so environmentally oriented want to pursue this? Obviously, there's always with one more thing, to do. But I don't think it's a council priority, but it does seem like one that would be worth considering. So maybe when we talk about who wants to take a project lead on a particular thing, we can see if someone's interested in that, because I love the concept. I would maybe want to do it, but I'd need to talk to Kelly and get a little more information. Any other thoughts? Okay, I'm trying to keep us moving. The Community Rec Center, I guess since the school district acquired that land, and I've read, from what I read, that's a concept for them. Maybe that's going to move forward on its own without us.
Fantastic.
Property acquisition, we already talked about the Peterson Mill, but we still all think that that would be a great thing for us to acquire as a city. Public art partnership. So, we talked about this a little bit last time, and that would we want to be recommending some kind of and Brian, this was your suggestion, that we maybe form a group of artists that could, help us to make recommendations on where we might want to put some additional art or what it might be. Does that,
Sure,
do you think council would be
but
Yeah, absolutely.
interested if we
Yeah.
tried to move something like that forward?
yeah, sure.
So maybe when I think we'll try to basically put names to projects, and, and that one would be one that is a potential for a name. Okay. Will be infrastructure. Big project, needs a long-term plan
Yeah, it's lumped in.
in your
the-
capital improvement
yeah.
plan. Okay, let's just move on. Add staff to support parks and park projects. So we got Michelle. We think we need more. Scott, I'll just let you say, you think that's a good idea?
We're never bored, I can tell you that.
Okay, I put this Oval Beach playground spinner on there just because I suppose that playground spinner is just still
Well, we
sitting around
decided it's
someplace.
not, it's
It's not
an
gonna go to the
appropriate
beach.
place for
And
it
we
there.
Are we selling it?
And we couldn't really find a place for it, but
Yeah.
it's still sitting there someplace, right?
Yeah, we could look into selling it and see what we could get out of it.
So, I just think that, you don't want it to sit in the closet forever kind of a thing, so.
I'll come up with some options. Let's talk about it.
So at one point, we were gonna see what it looked like in other areas, but
Yeah.
I don't know if the playground company could have.
Yeah, we were gonna look at some renderings, but I think we kind of talked ourselves out of it too.
Okay.
Or maybe I talked us all out of it. I'm not sure, but
Okay. Well, that's something
but-
that we can talk to council about during our strategic planning,
Yeah.
if they want to sell it or if they want to find another place for it. So
Sounds
there's
good.
other ideas out there as far as placement that isn't at Oval Beach. So there's other ideas being talked about.
The idea had been presented to do a comprehensive park review, and here again, I think we just decide who wants to volunteer if we want to do that. And this would just be to identify things almost, I think, for 2027. And then fix-it station for bicycles, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if I think it's the highest priority.
Again, the CVB was looking at possibly adding.
Adding a fix-it station as well? Oh, that'd be great. Kayak launches, I think that's part of the Kalamazoo River Greenway project, so I don't know if we need to do anything. I know it's a pet project of Keith's, but he's not here to champion it. So I'm gonna hope that it actually is gonna get lumped in with Kalamazoo River Greenway and also street end leases. And Cook Park boundaries are kind of the same thing, just getting a better understanding of, what is, particularly, I guess, for Cook Park, I always would like to know I feel like as a Parks Committee member, I should know what part of that park is actually, within the city's purview to,
The clerk sent
Better.
you and I the lease agreement for that.
you did, but then when I read it, it was very confusing still. So, we'll just leave it on the list and, I'd say maybe we've just wrapped this up. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about at length or discuss, or is not on the
The
list?
only thing that I would think would be helpful and is having some ideas of where we could start applying for grants. And if the Kalamazoo River Greenway could be involved in some of that grant writing. All of the municipalities have put money towards the Kalamazoo River Greenway. But it'd be really great to start identifying what kind of grants that we could be applying for to get some of these things that might not be a budget priority for the city. But if we had a grant for it, that we could pursue some of those things. So I
That's
feel
good.
like there's a lot of things within here that maybe if a grant were to come into play, but identifying things, and maybe that's a Kalamazoo River Greenway that could identify areas, because bathrooms at Coughlin Park, that could be a Kalamazoo River Greenway grant that they get. We've talked about that with a combination of a fish cleaning station and a bathroom at Coughlin Park. Just redoing bathrooms, that's actually something that we could get grants for through the Kalamazoo River Greenway, because it is part of the waterway and part of the water trail. We still need restrooms for people who are using the trails. So just a thought as far as finding ways to identify areas that we could get a grant for.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, and Kelly also mentioned the wilds, the building out at Saugatuck Wilds. Can we just assess whether or not that has potential for a future use, or if it's something that we should just be, considering to be eliminated?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good suggestion, just to at least put it on the list. So that I will add to the list.
We lose Brian in a minute and we don't have quorum anymore, so we can have
Yeah.
public comment.
Yep.
Okay,
that's right.
all right, we're done. Let's move on. So, do I have anyone who wants to make a comment? Nobody's in the room, I don't think, unless our new employees, eager.
I could make Angela again.
Okay, and how about on Zoom? Would anyone like to make a
Okay.
comment?
Okay.
No hands? Okay, all right, so that brings us to correspondence, which there was none other than that email I referenced. Committee member closing comments. All right, I'm gonna start with Brian.
Merry Christmas.
Okay,
To you too.
thank you. Judy?
Same.
Yeah,
Okay.
same.
All right, I'll add a fourth to that. How's that? And so with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Angela, thank you for being a good sport. I put you on the spot hardcore there. So in front of all these people,